your best-selling writing journey. Trust the Process, featuring Melissa Van Oss and Frank Zaccari. Join us in this enlightening interview with creators Melissa Van Oss and Frank Zaccari of the Trust the Process book marketing program. Delve into the stark reality of the industry that's often overshadowed by the glamorized portrayal of writers in pop culture. Discover how Trust the Process demystifies the path to becoming a best-selling author, offering tools, strategies, and support to navigate this competitive landscape. It's time to move beyond the allure and embrace the gritty reality of what it takes to succeed as an author. Welcome to the Wellness Driven Life Show, where you're about to go on a wellness driven ride. Let me share with you a little bit about the two incredible guests that we have here on the show today. Melissa Van Oss, founder of Trust the Process Book Marketing, is a renowned mindset expert and 3 times bestseller author. She has distinguished herself in the industry as one to watch, earning her the title of Top Business Women Leaders to Watch in 2023 and the NAMCA Storyteller of the Year award. With her Trust the Process program, she has achieved significant success with 13 consecutive titles reaching #1 bestseller and new release status in multiple categories over 22 months and 5 award winners. Frank Zaccari, co-founder of Trust the Process Book Marketing, leverages his 35 years of experience as a senior executive and business owner to guide this venture. His authority in the publishing industry, with 13 consecutive bestsellers and 5 award-winning books, with 5 #1 best-selling and 2 award-winning books himself. His role as a prominent university mentor and certified keynote speaker further attests to his experience. I am so pleased to help welcome to the stage Miss Melissa Van Oss and Frank Zaccari. Welcome you two to the Wellness Driven Life Show.
Thanks for having us, April.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you both to really, as we said, debunk and demystify this process of what it's like when we become a writer and all of these things that we want to do, aspire to do with our book. So I'm excited to dive right in. Why don't you guys share a little bit more about yourself? Let's start with you, Melissa. Share a little bit about yourself so we can get to know you more.
Well, sure. I am a small town girl from the country. I am from the Midwest originally. I tell people that, we have one traffic light in my town and you blink, you miss it. I'm a graduate of Kent State University, and I have been having the privilege and honor to be able to use my degree from that school to do marketing throughout my career, including working for many Fortune 500 companies before coming into Trust the Process, becoming a founder of that, which has just happened as a result of COVID. I think, like a lot of people, we reevaluated what was happening. I looked at it like a great opportunity to dive in, do some work, do some projects I wanted to do. And just through that process, brought to life some concepts that I had been teaching and doing, and that created my books. And then I just, did the fear and did it anyway, as they said, and I did live launches. And so through that process of people seeing me out there, going through this process, that's how Frank and I connected. And I live in DC, he lives in California. We would never have met otherwise, through, if it weren't for COVID and just some of the things going on. So, for me, I've always been a person to look at things that happen to you that may or may not be in our control, or things that are not so great, and how can we put a positive spin on it. So, I'm happy to report post-COVID life. Now we have this program. We've been helping authors, and it's been unexpected, but I think the little sprinkles were planted all along, because I've always been into books. Those are my most precious possessions. Anyone will tell you that can make me happy by buying a book or school supplies. When I was told in school when we were going to be able to get our first book to learn how to read, I literally kissed the boy next to me in class. So I've been into books for a long time, and now it's, I guess, the universe put it together that now we can help more people get their books into the world, which I think is awesome.
That is beautiful, and such a fun story with kissing the boy. Yes, books are incredible. And I love how you explain, so many people did, sit down to start writing during that global pandemic, because what else were we going to do, right? And if you had a story burning inside of you, which we all do, but you were so inspired to start writing it down during that time, and you talked about how you kind of fell face forward, right? Fire hose to the face with that process of not knowing what to do. You knew you wanted to do it, and you just dived right in. And because of all the things that you learned along the process, I'm excited to share that with the audience today. Now, Frank, how about you share a little bit more about you with our audience so we can
Sure. I grew up in Western New York, in Buffalo, which is the reason I'm not there anymore, because I had enough of the snow for 18 years. I was in the military. There still was the draft, and my lottery number was 10, which is the only lottery I've ever won. And back then, you could go into the Army for 2 years, and you were going to go to Vietnam, or you could enlist for 4 years. So I opted to enlist for 4 years as a medic in the Air Force. And so I did 4 years in the Air Force. Some of the best learning experiences of my life were in the military. Running a pediatric clinic with 90 sick children a day with no staff, and having to learn how to collaborate with volunteers that come in to work with you, and being able to explain to them how to do things, because volunteers don't have to show up, and volunteers don't have to tell you why, right? So it was a big learning experience on how to be a leader and how to manage people and how to get things done. When I got out, I finished my degree at Sacramento State University, and I got into the tech world. If it didn't intend to do that, but that's where I ended up in the tech world. And what I wanted to do was trade money. My degree's in finance, right? So I had interviewed at Bank of America, we'll go to their trading room, and basically they said, yes, we're going to hire you. You can move to San Francisco. This was a long time ago, and you can. We're going to pay you $10,000 a year. It was always expensive in San Francisco, so I said, well, that's not going to happen. Then NCR came to the campus, computer company, which I didn't even know who they were when they came to the campus. And they said, well, we'll let you do this. You can stay in Sacramento where you currently live, and we'll pay you $14,000 a year to start. Right now, I'm a finance major. Doing the math was easy. So I went into the tech world, and I thought, okay, I'll do this for 2-3 years, then I'll get out, right? And 27 years later, I was CEO of two tech companies up in Seattle, Washington. And it was something that just excited me every day. I gave a lot of talks, but mainly they were product-related talks. I became a single father. I had custody of my 2 daughters, and we had to get out of the tech world because I traveled too much. I bought an insurance agency, which is like dying and going to hell when you come from high-tech, proactive to insurance reactive. But it was a means to an end. To get my daughters through school, which we did. They both got through school. They got their degree. They started working, and then I sold the company. And I said, okay, what am I going to do now? I'm almost 60 years old. Now what? What am I going to do when I grow up? So I had started writing some books, and I didn't know what I was doing. I had no clue what I was doing, but I wrote 5 books. And I thought they were good, but they didn't go anywhere because I didn't know how to market. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. So voiceamerica.com kept calling me up, said, we want you to do a radio show, a business show. And I said, not interested. Business shows are boring, not interested. And they said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I want to do a show about life-altering events, people who had something major event occur in their life, a marriage, divorce, a death, whatever, that changed the trajectory of their life. And now their life today is better than they thought it was going to be before. So I started doing that, and then I had this radio show. And then Melissa contacts me, and to be on the show, right? So I put her on the show, and she's amazing. Melissa is amazing. She is so entertaining and so dynamic. We got done. We started talking more about the book world, and she said, "Well, I'm doing this with my books." And I thought, "Well, you obviously know something I don't know because mine aren't doing anything." So I had stopped writing for a period of time. Kathleen Canavas, who is my publisher, I had her on my show, and she said, "Frank, you got to do this again. You have to start writing again because you speak well and you write too well. You got to do this." And I kept saying, "No, it's too painful to write a book and then not have it go anyplace, right?" And she said, "Well, I'm going to help you." And I said, "Well, that's wonderful. Help me with the publishing, but I need marketing and promotion." And then Melissa and I started talking, and this is how this all came to play. She had a lot of this already laid out. Then it was, okay, how do we fine tune it? How do we create a business model around it, right? And make something happen. And we tested on ourselves first. All right. We weren't going to just say, "Look at us, we're the smartest." No, we're going to do it on our own books. And do they work? Does the process work? Yes, it did. It worked for her. It worked for me. We're best-selling authors. We're award-winning authors. Okay, we may have something here. Then we started offering it to the world. And then as we started to offer it to the world, there's bumps and growing pains and ups and downs. But every single one we've touched, 13 consecutive books have become bestsellers. 13 in a row. 11 of them were number one. And the variety is all over the place. So it's people will say, "Well, what genre do you do?" I said, "Well, we don't do any genre. The process is the process. The process works. It doesn't matter if it's a fiction book or if it's a self-help book or you're doing a neuroplasticity book. It doesn't matter. The process is the process. And if you follow what we lay out for you, you will be successful." One of the things I learned a long time ago is that, if I'm the smartest person in the room, then we're in the wrong room. And if you're dealing,
Yeah.
and if you're working, if you're going down a path, somebody said to me, "Well, why should I pay you guys?" I said, "Well, if you're going to go on a safari, are you going to go without a guide?" No, you're not. So that's why you come to us. We have been there. Get involved with people who've been where you want to go.
Very true. Very
right?
true.
Everybody and their brother is an expert on everything. One of the things I say to people is, the smartest parents are people who don't have any kids, right? They have all the answers.
Always. There's a lot that, comes up when we talk about, surrounding yourself with the 5 people that you want and aspire to be, right? And oftentimes those are people like you're talking about, Frank, that have, they've done and accomplished things that you aspire to do. And you're not the smartest person in the room because of that, but you're aligning yourself with the right folks, right?
Exactly. I'm a mentor with the University of California Entrepreneurship Academy, and it was interesting. These are some of the most brilliant people in the world, right? And I come in to work with them, and they said, "Frank, we have 19,224 patents. 19,224. And I thought, "Well, why am I here?" And they said, "Well, 60% of our revenue comes from 5, not 5%, 5 patents." And I actually said out loud, "Well, that's not very good." Okay. But, what's the problem? Okay, you've got this great mind and you've got these great ideas but you don't know how to market it. You don't know how to promote it. You're not resolving a business issue. And that's how we approach trust the process. We approach it. This is a business. Yes, you wrote a book. It's wonderful, but it's a business. And if you're not going to treat it as a business, then you're going to be very disappointed because 4 million books came out last year. That's 77,000 a week. That's 11,000 a day. 11,000 a day.
Yeah, amazing. Well, let's talk about that a little bit because that's why you guys created Trust the Process, right? So let's dive into the essence of this business, what it is that you do, what you offer, how you debunk. But let's start out by sharing a little bit about what was the main purpose and going into some of that.
I think one of the main things is that because we see so many characters and different people like portrayed as writers, it can be seen as this like, oh, it's a like a glamorous kind of profession, like it has a lot of cachet to it, you know, like and maybe I'll get the Jimmy Choos like Carrie too. But what I think, you know, the thing is that
I
there's
just gotta say, I love Jimmy Choo. But
right? Gotta love them, give them up. But the thing is that, you know, there's the perception of what it is, and then there's that reality of, okay, it's not enough just to say that you have the book. And I think that's where a lot of misconceptions in this business happen, is it's seen as just a publishing business. And once your book's published, you think that that's done. The hard work is now done. But just like having a baby, right? It takes 9 months to make that little precious bundle. You can't just bring it home from the hospital and just let it go in its own room and be like, well, good luck for the next 18 years. See ya. You know, and a lot of authors with their books, you know, because we have websites, we have social media platforms, we have all this stuff. People just think that something happens, you put something out there and everyone's knocking down your door like, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. It's going to be sold out. You know, I'm going to be Apple and people are lining up down the street on Christmas or Black Friday, you know, to buy my products. But you have to have that plan. You know, your publisher's job is to get your book done so it can be distributed. And unless they have a cut in your royalties, they got their money. They're good. I mean, that's their business, is to create the book. Their business is to create the demand for your book. You're to create the demand for your book by knowing your audience, by knowing what you can give to them, knowing what's going to be received to their eyes and maybe their audible ears when they want to get that book. What's happening in the world? How are you relevant? So I think it's a lot of times people don't realize that you need to be relevant. You need to have something of value. Even though it is easier than ever to put out product, a book is easy now too, doesn't mean you want to look amateur and trying to compete with people that do have a house behind them that get a cut, you know, or something like that. So it's definitely one of those things where the reality is different than the perception. And in the reality is there's hard work, there's strategy involved. Your publisher, because you get one, that doesn't mean boop, you've hit that home run and it's easy peasy, you know, like it's all done, game, set, match. No, that's just, you got lucky, you got your own publisher, great. But they expect you to get behind the marketing machine. They expect you to build demand for your book. It's now all about your ball in your court, if I keep my sports analogies going here, a mix of them. But, you know, I think a lot of people don't see that part of it. Is they see that it's out, and most people just think because of Kevin Costner, build it, they will come. We just have this illusion that because we put something out, people are just rushing to take advantage of it. And that's pretty much not it, because there's too much distraction and competition for people's dollars and mind space every day.
And Frank, you've talked in the past about really the challenges of what people face, those again debunking the myths of what people think, you know, having their book out is, and what it really means when we talk about the exposure of, you know, and going on social media, what that's like. Do you want to share a little bit more about that aspect of it?
Sure. That's a huge myth out there. Is Melissa's touched on, the publisher's not going to market your book for you, period. Then what are you going to do? And a number of people, they just don't understand this. They say, well, you know, marketing a book is very different than marketing something else. But if you look at parallels, okay, how are you going to get the word out? We see every single day Coca-Cola commercials, the McDonald's commercials. We see 5,000 insurance commercials every day. Why? It's a consistency in the message. That's how you start getting to top of mind. And that's how we put our strategy together after we meet with the authors. Is how are we going to get your book and your name top of mind, so when we tell them the book is out, go buy it, they go do it. All right? That's a big step that you have to go with. Working with people who've been where you want to be. We talked about that just a couple of seconds ago. People who know where to go and what to do. They've done it before. Now, when we talk with social media, we have people say, well, I'll put a post up a day before the release day or 2 days before. I see this all the time. My book is coming out tomorrow. Okay. Well, first off, how many people actually saw it, right? And if you put it out one time, who cares? Look at the movie industry, for example. I spoke at a veterans event, and they were involved with the second Top Gun movie, right? And so I asked them, how far in advance did you start the promotion for that second movie? And they said 7.5 months.
Wow.
Beforehand. That's when we started putting commercials out. That's when we put ads out. That's when we were doing little reels and TikToks and all that stuff. 7.5 months, like they really needed. Everybody knows Top Gun. Everybody knows Tom Cruise. Everybody knows the movie's going to be a blockbuster. But they still did that because they had to keep top of mind. You keep that in place. People, everybody's an expert when you write a book, right? They just okay. My cousin's uncle's aunt's brother did this, so this is what you should do. What have you done it? Have you ever been there? Okay, if you haven't been there, why are you going to listen to this individual? Right? It's almost like May said earlier. It's almost like the parent with no kids is the smartest parent on the planet because they have the answer to everything, but they've never done it. Okay, that's a big deal. Yeah. The other big thing we will hear is a lot is I'm going to have a launch party. We talked to one person that we opted not to work with, and they said, I asked her how many people are coming to this launch party, and she said 200. And I said, well, that's good, that's wonderful. I said, I don't want to burst your bubble here, but maybe 10 are going to show up, maybe. And she goes, well, you don't know what you're talking about. And I said, okay, fine, no problem. After it was over, I contacted her and I said, how'd it go? And she says, well, I'm a little disappointed. And I said, well, how many people showed up? She said 7. Okay, so you put all that time and energy putting together, particularly if you're going to have something in place. Okay, I'm going to have a book signing. I'm going to go to this bookstore and hundreds of people. No, they're not. They have a life. They're not going to show up. Again, unless you're Brene Brown or Simon Sinek, they'll come see you. But they're not going to show up. You're not going to get this long crowd out the door because you're there. All right. These are the things, consistency and continuity. Those are the big deals in marketing, pretty much anything. But if you're going to do a book, that's one of the critical components is you have to get out ahead of the curve. Who are you? What is this book about? Why does anybody care? 11,000 books come out a day. Why does anybody care about yours? So we have to make that happen. When I had done a couple of my books, when they hit #1, I got a call from a big distribution house. They actually called me and they said, when is you using us? And I said, well, what do you bring to the party? And they said, well, we're going to put your book in Walmart. And we're going to put your book in Borders. And we're going to put your book in. I said, well, how are you going to do that? And they said, well, we've got an online catalog. And I said, you like the old yellow pages? Remember a big book like that? And I said, she said, yeah, that's exactly what we do. And I said, I'm one line in that big catalog. And they said, yes. And I said, and Walmart's going to buy 10,000 of my books because I have one line in it. And they said, no. You create the market for it. You drive the market for it. And then, when you sell 10,000 books, then we'll put all our muscle behind you. Okay. Well, if I sell 10,000 books by myself, what do I need you for?
Right. Yeah. So this is really, going into, we're debunking these myths, right? This is a lot of what people think, and they're getting words and advice from their uncles and their brothers and everybody on the moon, right? And it's not always so. And you guys have really experienced the realities, like the woman who had the launch party, that in person, and Walmart saying they're going to have it, but it's in the midst of thousands and thousands. So it is a process. Melissa, you talked a lot about the timeline of events. This is a 9-month process, and then you don't just leave the baby after having it, right? You have a before, during, and then after point. So this is definitely trusting the process of all of those different time frames with this. But not only that, I want to shed some more light on why it is that people write a book to begin with, right? It's really, in essence, it's not writing a book because you're going to make money. Most people know that. That's not the point of writing a book. It's not to get rich and famous because of your book, right? And not only that, but the publisher isn't going to be holding your hand along the process, unless you have some sort of major agreement with them. But they'll do the book for you, and then it's up to you to get that exposure piece. But let's talk a little bit about, beginning with the end in mind. What is the essence of the reason that people would write a book to begin with?
Well, I think now with a lot of people that have shifted to entrepreneur space, that they are looking at a book now as a potential leveraging tool. And that's what we really, I think our sweet spot, I think for a lot of people is that we work with people that want to look at using a book as a leveraging tool. And what is that leveraging tool to leverage what? Okay, great. That's where we reverse engineer the process to say, what's the point of your book? Why do you want to even write this book? Because like Frank alluded to earlier, if people want to write like a legacy book just to leave and have, as a family memento or something like that, that's really, great, but you don't want to probably spend as much, investment dollars into that type of project as something that potentially could work for your personal brand or your business. So you could use it, for people that are entrepreneurs. You use that book as part of your branding with your umbrella. So maybe you have a formula or a proven system. That's a great thing that you can turn into a book, because now people want to know if you're successful using that. What are the steps? How can I use that to get this outcome? So a lot of people are writing books, how-tos. How do I become successful? How do I get set outcomes? Like, of course, we were talking before, post-COVID, has kind of helped with this awakening, if you will, of people saying, I'm not going to stick with the status quo anymore. Mm-hmm. And I want to have balance. I want to have happiness. I want to have control of my life in an uncontrollable world. So books, I think, have come to the rescue for a lot of people that have been through some stuff, that want to pivot, that maybe want a career transition, that want to brand their business as an entrepreneur. So it can take you in a lot of different angles. But I think that one of the things that's important is, how can you make something that is somewhat of an evergreen type-ish concept? Because I think that's, again, where the point is you want to create something, because it takes a while to make this happen, this whole process. But you want to be able to cash in it on an extended period of time, so that you can use it for conference speaking. You can use it as your lead magnet. You can use it as a giveaway. There are so many avenues that you could go down depending on your angle of that book. And that's why we really reverse engineer all the time. Like, what's the purpose? What's the end goal? And a lot of it is nonfiction space, because people do want to help right now. I think we're in a really helping type of era right now in 2024-ish and beyond. Is we're trying to all cope, recuperate, and heal and stuff. So I think, you're seeing this mix of those self-help and like, how do I get my internally mental self right? And then you also see like these really great fictional books coming out where we have these, amazing page turners. So then once we get ourselves, self-care right, then we can escape in that good story, so you definitely need both sides of that equation, the fiction and the nonfiction, I think, in life to even balance out yourself mentally as well.
Yeah, I like that approach too, the balance yourself out mentally, just doesn't always have to be the hard facts, right, of everything. Have a little creation and all to that. So we're going to move into our first commercial. And when we get back, I can't wait to continue on this conversation of, all of these things when it comes to truly understanding the process of writing your book and trusting the process of that. Stay tuned. Are you ready to take control of your ride to wellness? Rev up with Driven Living. Visit www.drivenliving.com and buckle up for a journey. Get exclusive access to our Wellness Driven Life Show guest portal, where you can dive deep into the minds of our esteemed guests. Sign up for our newsletter and get insider scoops on these distinguished personalities. It's like having a backstage pass to their life-changing wisdom. But that's not all. You'll also receive a free hug. You heard me right, a free hug. An enlightening ebook from the Driven Living team. Discover the science-backed benefits of hugging yourself. It's a fill-up for your wellness tank. Because at Driven Living, we believe in fueling your journey to wellness, both physically and psychologically. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.drivenlivin.com today. Welcome back, everyone. We are here with Frank Zaccari and Melissa Van Oss with Trust the Process Book Marketing. Now, you two have this extensive knowledge. You are holding everybody's hands in this process of really marketing their incredible work, right? You know, when we write a book and we go through that process, it is not only blood, sweat, and tears, but it is a piece of us. And so when we want to treat that like our baby, right? Because it's an essence of us that we get to share with the world, that we get to utilize when we step on that stage or we go on a podcast or we shed light on our brand or business or what have you, to give an extension of ourselves to our audience. When they have listened to us, they are loving who we are, they want more. That is a piece of us that we get to give. And I think that's some of the things that's really wonderful about having that physical piece of us to really give to somebody else so they can have more insight on what it is, who we are and what we do. So that said, you two have created your own pieces of art, of work, and you've gone through the process yourselves. You have fallen down, gotten back up numerous times, fire hose to the face. And what I'm curious about is, what has it been like for you with some of these incredible works that have gotten you award-winning status?
Wow. One of the interesting things that when we talk with folks is people want to hear a story. All right, they're not interested in facts, figures. Well, they are interested in facts and figures, but they're going to forget them. They're going to forget them 2 minutes later. So if you write a book and the book is all facts, fact. So what? This came across to me when I was early in my tech career. I was on a fast track management. We were sent away every quarter for training, and we were doing communication training. And they said, we have the vice president of communications is here, and his name is Zig Ziglar, right? There was no Google back then. I didn't know who Zig Ziglar was. What we did is product presentation talk. So we do our talk and we get done with the talk. And I'm the last one. So when you're the last one at an event, people just want you to get done because they want to go to the bar, right? Zipping through it, I get done. And there was no PowerPoint then. So you had the overheads, remember the overhead projector, you had to put the thing down. So I'm putting the slides together, and Mr. Ziegler walks up to me in the front of the room, and he says, "Frank, you speak incredibly well." And I'm, "Thank you." He goes, "I'm going to forget 95% of what you said before we walk out of this door." And I said, "Well, that's not good." He said,
"Oh, geez."
And he said, "No, it's not." And I said, "Well, what do I need to do?" And he says, "You need to tell a story. You have a fact that you want to get a point across, have a story." And that's where the magic is, because people want to say, "What did you go through it? What did you do? How did you come out the other side? What occurred?" And that's when you apply to win an award for a book. That's what they're looking for. Is right. It's they can do Google. They can go and get all the facts and figures that they want. But so what? What does it mean? How does it apply? Right. And that's where the magic comes in.
That's the emotion. Exactly. That brings in the emotion piece. And Frank, I gotta stay on the story of yours, because Zig Ziglar, he was so passionate about educating others. He cared so much about others that's exactly what he did. I interviewed his son Tom Ziglar on the show not long ago, and Tom said that what his father did was he spent, I think, 3 hours every single morning of every single day reading. And what he did with filling himself up with that knowledge is that was what he applied to everybody else. And Frank, you are testament to that. The fact that he stopped you and said, "You're an incredible speaker, and I'm not going to remember what you said because," and so it not only was, it was great feedback. Feedback is a gift. He taught you something invaluable that now you get to teach us.
Exactly. That was quite the eye-opening experience, to say the least. And then when you leverage the book, because again, the book is, as Melissa said, it's an evergreen tool. And you come in and you talk about it and you say, I've been here. I've been through this. I've experienced this. You can get through it. And going back to COVID, as horrible as it was, it did open up an awful lot of people's mindsets. I'm not going to be a robot. I'm not going to live this life anymore. I have something to say. Well, then say it. But say it in a manner that it matters. Why is it going to be of value to somebody else? Okay, what are they going through? And then part of what we end up doing is then doing the promotion. You mentioned earlier the plans. We have a pre-release or pre-launch, a launch, and a post-launch. And so there's 3 separate entities within the campaign, and all of them layer on top of each other. Now, post-launch, once the book comes out, now we're getting you exposure. You're on podcasts. We get you interviews. We do virtual book tours. We can do additional things that keep the momentum going. Because as Melissa said, you write the book, everybody's going to come buy it. No, they're not. They're not going to come and buy it. Here,
it'd be great if they did.
No, it would be wonderful if they did. But here's a way to keep you relevant. Is the ongoing part, and that's where a lot of people forget it. That's what I did, and Melissa was a lot smarter than I was. I wrote 5 books before I realized I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And once we started this marketing idea that you have to take control, and I think that's what COVID taught me and a number of people is you got to take control of your own life. No one's going to do it for you. And here's a way to do it. And we're going to show you the way. And here's where the rocks are so you can walk on water.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I would add to that, with people wanting to share their stories, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure I've heard of this thing called Lifetime Network. And all that network is dedicated to are the crazy stories of other people, right? So just think about that for a second. Like most people think that their personal life is like boring, to other outside people. Like even Frank sometimes, you were in Vietnam, like you were number 10. Like that's a whole experience that I can't relate to. And many of us now can't relate to. And even people that were in that time period, they got a later number, it was stopped. So that was an experience that they could have. So, we always think as the person living our life, granted it's maybe not Dynasty or Melrose Place drama, but you've had accomplishments, you've done different things, maybe you have survived some crazy odds, or, you are a veteran, you're a school teacher. I mean, you don't have to have a glamorous life to have a story that can inspire other people. That's, I think the beauty of it is like the simplicity of the human experience is beyond time, timestamps. It's beyond, zip codes. It's beyond, decimals and commas in your financial records. It is stories and what our ancestors did. They did oral stories. Now we're able to get it out to more than just our community of our ancestors. So to me, like storytelling is this very spiritual, like historic, ancestral kind of right that all of us should be able to have, but we don't feel always the confidence or like that we have something worth sharing. But most of us do, like you can talk to a stranger. If you're bold enough to talk to a stranger about maybe the craziest thing that's ever happened to you, guarantee they'll be like, whoa, so like test it out on like the cab. I do this all the time. Like, I just talk to everyone because I'm from a small town originally. So people in DC don't get me because I talk to strangers and I'm nice to people. But like, I haven't met a Lyft driver or a taxi driver that hasn't become my friend by the end of the ride, or I learned something about them or where they're from or their culture or something. So, you don't have to write about yourself, write about something interesting to you, right? That's the beauty of where we are now. You could just tell a story, even if it's not yours. Get permission to tell some other's great story. Doesn't matter.
So there's a lot of healing aspects and modalities along with this process. Not only can you leverage it for your business, your story, your brand, etc., but there's this healing essence, this almost as if, if when you are ready to be able to share yourself and your story and your wisdom in a healthy manner to where it is impactful to the listener, where they get to say me too. I mean, that's oftentimes where I like to lead the guests on this show, is in that story form, because it is bringing in the emotion to where the audience says me too. And if you do it in the most incredible way, then they are so inspired to take action to improving themselves. Now, Frank and Melissa, you two have some extraordinary success stories already with this process, with Trust the Process. Do you want to shed some light on some of these success stories? Because I'm excited to hear a little bit about them.
Sure. I'll pick one and let Melissa go on from after that. One of the interesting ones was a gentleman who had a successful business. He had a successful business. And he wrote a book 10 years ago, and the book went nowhere, just nowhere, floundered. And so he didn't write another book. And he's still doing whatever he's doing professionally. He's also an adjunct professor at Georgetown University. So he decides, I'm going to try another book. All right. And he, through his writing coach, they contacted Melissa and I. We have a long conversation. Like Melissa said, what's the end story? What are you trying to get this for? I said, well, I want this to be something that when I go to these speaking engagements, it can be a topic. It can be an agenda. It can be a TED Talk. It could be all these things. And we said, well, that's wonderful. The only thing you're missing in your life is a best-selling book. So we put this in place. A lot of discussion. What are you trying to do? Where are we going to go with this? How are we going to get this across? Give us, in a perfect world, what would happen? What are some of the groups and entities you're involved with? And then we create all the content and send it to them. Now, here's where it gets kind of dicey sometimes, because sometimes the people will want to expound upon it, right? And the consistency and continuity is the magic. And no one in social media is going to read 4 paragraphs. They're not. They're going to just blow it off. So that was a challenge, trying to rein him in, stay with, trust the process. I don't know how many times I said that to him, probably 500. Trust the process. As we got through that, and we're coming up to launch day, and launch day hits, and he had a pretty big international following, right? So we said, okay, get your international people, because launch day starts 12:01 New York time, 12:01. 12:01 New York time is 6 or 7 o'clock at night overseas. Have them come in, have them get on board, have them buy the book that day, right now, bang. So launch day, Melissa and I don't sleep. We're watching, oh my God, okay, let's look, let's see. And you can see the numbers. Okay, 12:15, his book hit bestseller because we had all this international momentum going, and then we put it out there. So it's exposure. What's it about? Why is anybody going to care? We do a podcast on my show before the book is released, again, to continue that momentum going. And then once the book is released, after launch day, then we have them back on the show another time. Okay, now here's person X. Last time you saw them, they were about to release a book. Now they have. It's the #1 bestseller in 9 categories. So what's your life been like now?
Well, you know, Frank, I love this, by the way, being a podcast host, because it's a great way to have exposure, right?
Exactly. And it's something where, in that case, he had a staff, right? And it was almost like a decision.
We had a team.
It was decision by committee, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
So he'd send something, and then well, I have to sit on this, or sit with it, I think was the term he used. And we got to get this moving. All right, not every post is going to rock the world, but it sets up the next one. Here he is. Look at this guy. Isn't this wonderful? And he hit in 9 categories, #1. And because he hit in 9 categories, #1, and he has an international following, all of a sudden they want to translate the book into another language.
Wow.
That wouldn't have happened without as much success as he had in his other life. That would not have happened had he not had a #1 best-selling book, because nobody cared.
Well, you bring so much. Sorry to interrupt you, Frank, but to me, it sounds like you bring so much to the forefront to what people do not think about. You're talking about time zones, about when it's released, New York time, when, so all of the things, all of the different steps that you don't consider, this is not stuff people think about on a normal basis.
Right.
But because you have sort of, this is what you do, right? It's your job to know these things to really set people up for success when the moment hits, that it makes the biggest difference.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I would say to that, the other side of it that we do that, again, like the outside looking in, right? Because it's all like, oh, it's done, it's easy, it's great. No, you need to have a strategy. Even there's a strategy even behind, well, most people probably think this is obvious, right? The book cover. Everyone thinks about the book cover. Yes, it has to be attractive, it has to be eye appealing, it has to be eye catching and attractive to get people to look at the back. Well, what about the back cover? You can take opportunity to harness being able to be searchable by your back cover. Then we also, there's certain keywords and categories that go along with selecting your book. Now we have a strategy for you based on your book, your audience, your potential reach, your end goal. Again, you see how we always backtrack it. Where are those people going to take interest in that book? What are they going to search it under? How can they find you? So we really utilize a multitude of things so that we take advantage as much as possible, because again, we're not given a script and some like manual, right, from Amazon to say, hey guys, here's all the categories and here's the numbers you need on these days to make your books number one. No, right? That's proprietary Amazon. So we know based on history and experience how it should formulate based on the strategy. So we can then advise our author to say, okay, these people are maybe going to put this book out in this category on this day, but your book is very similar, which is great. So we're going to ride some of the SEO and some of the things that are populating because of this person as well being similar to you. But we're going to go off the track. We're going to go off book, and we're going to do it on this day at this time because of this reason.
Exactly.
Why is it important to trust the process?
Oh, it's similar to going on, you're going to take a trip, you're going to go on a safari in Africa, you want to see lions or whatever. You're not going to go by yourself. You're going to have a guide. You're going to have somebody who's going to tell you, we're not going to go down this road because that's where the lion is, right? That's why you trust the process. And that's part of what we have to do, is to show people we've been there. We understand. We know exactly what you're thinking, what you're feeling. And here's the proof. Here's what's going on. The point Melissa made about categories is so important. We had one author who didn't work with us. They're going to do a book, and she says, well, I know how to do this. I know how to post stuff. And I said, okay, good luck. I wish you the best. Okay. And they came out and they put their book in category health and fitness. 11,000 books come out a day. 6,000 of them are health and fitness. So what did you do? You got lost in the morass, right? So how do we differentiate? How do we take a category and spin it a little bit different so it fits a little bit better than something else? Or how can we differentiate you? And what Melissa said is so critical, is that every single aspect of the book matters. All right. So what you say on the front cover has got to be different than what you say on the back cover, because we can pull different triggers off of it. What you say on the inside is different. What are the titles of your book? And we don't get into the writing of the book, but what are the chapter titles? And okay, do we see a pattern here? Is there something that makes you stand out? And that's where the magic comes from, is how do we make you stand out? And if you trust the process, the magic is going to happen.
And I think also with that trust the process piece too, April, is this idea that you have to be coachable. Like Frank says, you can't be the smartest person in the room. And we're not the smartest people in the room. And that's why we're always educating. We're spending money to learn more, to make us and our craft better, and to help our program be better for the author. But if you can't be coachable, then we're going to have conflicts, because, we don't want to be know-it-alls, but we want to offer you the solution to the problem, which is you don't know where the pitfalls are. We're going to show them to you so you can get there faster, quicker, better, and hopefully with less crying involved. You know what I mean? Like, it's emotional. This is an emotional situation to release the book. It has a lot of highs and a lot of lows. So we're trying to keep you on a level path and playing field, right? And so that's why I love Frank. He always tells people, and this is why his military and corporate works to my creative sparkle, is that we don't like surprises. So we're very thorough with everything. You know, when we work with someone, it's about an 8-page document to say, you do this, we do this. Here's how it's all going to flow, because then it allows that person, I think, to trust. You know, we're very clear. We're very upfront about their responsibilities, which are not a lot, in the sense of, if you can copy and paste already a post and you can get on a live and you can be you, that's all you really have to do. Like, we have the rest for you covered, and we hold your hand every step of the way. So it's sort of like, if you were to think of an Olympic athlete, right? They train for years and years for only that one day on that one thing, right? On the Olympic stage for that one event. But all the hours of training in the gym, they have a gym trainer person, they have a nutrition person, right? They have a person that makes sure they're sleeping right, they're not getting too many social activity, you know, like, they have multiple coaches and trainers. So we essentially are like your literary, you know, coach and trainer, in the sense of launching that book. And when you look at us as that coach, you know, I think hand-holding experience of, we have your interest just as much as you have ours, because if you look bad, we look bad, and we don't want anyone to look bad. We want you to succeed, you know? And so when we, you know, put our efforts behind you, and we always share on our networks with our folks, so we have to believe in what you're doing too. And so that's where I think we're very honest and different, I think, sometimes, than other folks who maybe aren't as transparent with their programs, is our success is tied to your success. And we don't want to get in bed, so to speak, or involved, if we don't think you have it figured out, and we don't think you have it all strategized. And then it's not going to be a good fit for you, and maybe it's not going to be good for your brand. So, you know, we do have to have conversations with people to say no more than yes, because not everyone has thought it through as a business. It's a hobby at that point. So we really do a lot of, like, clarifying between hobbyist and business, and making this be an actual investment in your future and in your business, whatever that business may be.
Absolutely. This is a really done for you approach, almost, you know, where your audience is really that high-end professional who is looking for the exposure. They are busy. They don't have time or the know-how. They don't want to, but they do have this end goal of, I have this written material and I want it to be shown out to the world in the brightest, most beautiful, most expansive way possible. And I think that's incredible when people and companies really bring that to the table in the forefront. And you're right, Melissa and Frank, when you have your skin in the game just as much as they do, you are attached as this mere reflection of, you know, your professionalism and their professionalism and how they show up. So of course, you're going to do your absolute best to be able to shine the most light on that. So that all said, it's been incredible to share all of the things that you're bringing to the table, to the forefront. Do both of you have anything else that you want to share with the audience today about this extensive work that you guys provide for these high-end professionals?
Sure. I think the biggest issue is get yourself involved with people who've been where you want to go. I think we said that in the beginning. Someone who's already been there, that's done that, that can guide you. One of the things I talk about a lot is the secret to walking on water is to know where the rocks are. Okay, we know where the rocks are. We can show you where that is.
And I'll just add to that to say that, you know, if this is something that you've had maybe on that bucket list for a long time, and now you feel that calling to get that story out, then this is the time to do it. You know, now more than ever, and again, we keep referencing back COVID. I mean, we just know how precious and limited our time is. So if you feel that compulsion to share that message, I get teary sometimes, but share that, because you don't know how your story could be the thing to maybe stop someone from ending their life, or sorry, like just change the direction of where they may want to go. So when you're brave to share your truth, your passion, and your story, you really could, that one person could have a tremendous ripple effect on the universe. So share that story.
Oh,
Yes.
Melissa, that's beautiful. And that's really what it's all about. That's 100%, hands down. That's why we're talking about that emotional piece, to ignite someone else to take action to improve themselves and to keep moving forward because they've heard that other people have done it. And so that's so beautiful. Thank you so much, Melissa, for sharing that. That is truly the essence of it all.
It is.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I want to make sure that everyone knows where to find you. So we've had it displayed on the screen throughout, and it is also in the description below, www.authorstrusttheprocess.com. Again, for those of you with listening ears, www.authorstrusttheprocess.com. Easy peasy. Find them in the description below. Melissa and Frank, it has been an honor to have you share the incredible things that you are bringing to the forefront for those who are so excited about writing their story, their business, their passion, their journey. And so I want to make sure to say thank you so much to you for that.
Thank you for the opportunity.
For the honor to be here.
You're welcome to the both of you. You are welcome. And thank you so much to our audience. Without you, the show wouldn't be possible. So I want to say thank you again. Goodbye for now. And we will see you next time. Goodbye.